So Metroid Prime 3 was on the Wii, and so they fully utilized the first-person shooting mechanic. Aside from that, the game works essentially the same as it always would in previous games. You have there are some a lot there actually are a lot of things that do restrict Metroid Prime 3. You do have multiple visors in this game. Or really, one of them is actually a bombardment module, which is actually pretty cool. However, you do not have multiple beams. You just kind of upgrade from one beam to the next until you have your final beam by the end of the game. What is cool and different about this game and this installment in the series is that there are more NPCs. There is the general and other GFS troops who you talk to and meet with and are fully interactable. You actually start on a space station that gets attacked by space pirates, predictably. And there are different environments and different actually planets you go to in this game. You're not just stuck to one planet. Not that that's really much of a big difference, but there are different ships and different areas and planets you actually go to in the solar system. And the main premise is that essentially there is a bunch of phazon comets flying through the galaxy, crash landing on different planets and infecting the local population, spreading phazon and chaos. And it seems that Dark Samus or Metroid Prime is still alive somehow, and you have to go out and take it out. The design of the space pirates has evolved once again in this game. They have more pointy armor. When you go, there's one level you go to the space pirate homeworld, and it's actually very cool what the environment is like and also what the designs of the space pirates are like. They have a very cool array of different suits and classes of their soldiers. The normal shooting with the Wii mode versus the controller is, I would say, a little bit better because you can always aim now instead of having to hold the right trigger and then push with the stick. You now have a total free aim. Graphically, it's pretty nice looking. Scanning works kind of more or less the same in this one as it did in 2. Everything is highlighted as red, green, or blue, depending on the severity of the object being scanned. The main overarching theme in this game is that Samus herself has been corrupted with phazon and needs to essentially expel it from her body, and her armor is a special GFS armor that actually initially uses the phazon teeming within her to actually use it as a weapon against the space pirates. And so it's actually really cool that when you unlock it, you hold down the plus button and you go into phazon mode, and you basically have, an extremely strong attack, certain missiles that will only damage, phazon-esque walls and barricades and such. And if you charge up the main blaster, you will fire a flurry of a chain gun of phazon bullets, which is super, super cool, to be honest. However, the only drawback is that it will drain your health by an immense amount. So it's really very useful and recreational once you've kind of got a lot of health and almost beaten the game, and you can just go wild with it. Some of the environments in this game are planets like Brio, which are kind of a very earthy, rock and mountainous based environment. You will sometimes fight the native elements of the world that have been affected with phazon, along with the typical space pirates and other strange flora and fauna that inhabit the land. There is the very cool world of Elysium, which is a series of ancient structures connected over a giant gas giant, and one of the most whimsical, magical level themes I've ever heard. I love Elysium. It's definitely the coolest planet, I think, in this game. And there's Space Pirate Homeworld, which I talked about, which has being plagued with acid rain and a highly industrial, technological environment. And eventually the final planet, which is entirely made of phazon, but that I will leave for later. What is kind of nifty about this game is that also when you want to jump with the ball, you don't have to use the bomb. You can actually just flip the Wiimote and the Samus's ball will actually jump in the air, which is kind of nice. Another component to this game is also there are 3 other bounty hunters that start the game with Samus, and each one of them has a special kind of ability or power that you will end up use throughout the game because, of course, essentially after the tutorial level, there's a time lapse, and each one of these other bounty hunters, each one of them, with their own personality, their own concept, they're all very cool. They eventually, of course, get infected by Phazon, and you have to go out and take them out throughout the course of the game. So there's also a character-driven aspect to this as well. There's Rudra, the ice-wielding, aquiline kind of looking creature. There is Gore, the giant mech-wielding bounty hunter. And there is Gandrada, who is the electrically charged body bounty hunter. In Prime 3, there are a couple new techniques that weren't in the previous games. The design of the doors are also noticeably different when you have GFS doors. They're very cool. One special place that you can also go to, which I thought was a really cool thing, is the original ship you start on in the tutorial level, and you come back to it after it's been wrecked, and it's like a ghost ship, and it's actually a very cool level to explore a ghost ship in the space age. And usually it's a place you go back to, as most doors are locked behind different kind of life cores or whatever they're called. And the more of them that you have, the further you can progress through this derelict ship and get special endgame rewards. Something else Metroid Prime 3 did that was kind of odd and interesting is that because the Wii did not have an achievement system, Metroid Prime 3 has a series of own achievements. And in fact, some of these achievements would actually unlock certain things and options and artwork and stuff. And they might be things like, kill an enemy with, a missile 10 times, or scan this thing, or send a screenshot to a friend over the internet, I believe. It got pretty weird, near the end. But every time you beat the game, you also got a credit that you could also use. So it's kind of interesting that they kind of did that. I know the other time Nintendo has done that is, I believe, with Luigi's Mansion 3. They also had a in-game achievement system, which I find just very, just generally kind of funny. There's also other parts in the game where you use Samus's ship or certain cores that you need to twist them, use the Wiimote forward, which actually feel very fun to use and very cool. You can also now reside and sit in Samus's cockpit, and it's actually really, really cool. You can see all the glowing consoles and all the stuff, activating. You can mess around with certain things in the game, in the cockpit. If you set a destination, try to throttle the engine, it's not going to move because you haven't set where you want to go. You can mess around with a whole bunch of things, check your corruption status. It's really cool. And I should have mentioned that the subtitle to this game is Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. So it's all about Samus overcoming her own internal corruptions of Phazon, basically. And it's spelling it from her body and the universe, hopefully by the end of the game. I believe this is the one of the few Metroid Prime games, where you start the game and you don't magically lose all of your powers. You kind of have your basic output, and you kind of keep it till the end of the game, and everything else just adds on top of that, which is honestly kind of nice for once. We don't have to acquire the freaking morph ball, the most basic aspect of these games. Another cool thing that I just thought of is Elysium. Brio has, kind of organic natives. The Space Pirate homeworld obviously has space pirates. Elysium is a strange one because it does technically have inhabitants, but they're steam-powered robots. It's everything about Elysium is just a really interesting dynamic, and again, the aesthetic of Elysium and the sound of it is just amazing. There is also the aspect of There's one kind of boss fight in the Elysium world. It's not the main boss, but you have this pirate ship bombardment. And another cool thing is that along with Samus's new phazon ability, she can actually blow up these huge transport ships, which feels really cool and really good. But there's this one segment where you have to defend this platform, and it's falling into the eye of the storm of the giant gas giant. And it is one of the coolest segments and sequences I've ever seen in a game. And then you have to like take the escape pod from the falling thing and basically launch a thermonuclear device into the core of the planet to basically uncover the room of the final boss of the world. Just super, super cool stuff. There are also these mega organic computers that Samus comes in contact with, which give her advice on, what to do, in the story, and they're kind of a cool side character. There's obviously a lot more voice acting and different kind of character actions in this game, including the general and other characters. I think just on the point of interaction, I was thinking about doing it, but I might do it at another point. But there's also the aspect of talking about Metroid Prime, Metroid Other M, excuse me. But I'm not sure if I really should talk about that. Maybe I will at a certain point, but the characterization Metroid Other M is also something that's interesting, especially it came pretty much right after this one, I believe, and it was not well received. Again, I always thought it was a huge step back that you could not switch between beams. I guess, each beam is just a better version of the previous one, technically, but I really like having that variety of feeling like I have a huge arsenal at my disposal and not just the phazon weapon. Another very cool aesthetic and functional thing, though, is the bombardment module. The fact that you can actually order a bombing run from your ship. Your ship does play a much more, a bigger role in this game, and it is very cool. Again, the music in this game, it's also fairly good for most of the planets. Brio is a very iconic theme. Elysium is a wonderful theme. The Space Pirate homeworld is just mostly ambience, frankly. So it's still good. Again, I would say that Metroid Prime 2 is the crown jewel of this trilogy. But Prime 3 is by no means a bad game. It's fairly good and fairly decent Metroid game. And it also kind of concludes the Prime storyline. And after this, Retro Studios is kind of up in the air. We were teased the logo of Metroid Prime 4 years ago. I don't know what E3 it was, maybe 2016 or something, but it's just not happening, I guess. The hopes up for having a new Prime game seem to be in the dust, and we don't know what the future of the Metroid series or Prime series is, for that matter. Metroid Prime Dread appearing out of nowhere was a very fresh surprise, especially since the last game since was Other M, which pretty much everyone universally hated, and Nintendo, I guess, kept their hands off it because I thought it was too hot to to touch. So yeah, I'm hopeful that if Metroid Prime does come back, that it is Retro Studios doing it. Otherwise, I can't have much faith in the project, or it'll be completely different. In which case, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, guys, I think that's all I can say right now about this series. It feels kind of short-lived, and it's a very strange spot that Metroid is in right now. I will say the cutscenes, though, in this game and the choreography are really well done. They are very always interesting. They're very cool, and like this whole opening sequence, it's a very visual game, which is great, and its cutscenes are pretty well done. But yeah, I think with all that being said, I'm hopeful for the future of this series. I hope we get another game as good as this. I always thought Prime 3 was kind of mid when it came out, but honestly, it's kind of been, the peak of the series. I mean 1, 2, 3 were kind of peak, but yeah, it doesn't seem to just be around in general now, and it's kind of a shame. Anyway, I definitely would give this a shot if you've already obviously played Metroid Prime 1 and 2, and yeah, I'll see you later, guys. Bye.